26th, 2021. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Stolberg.
Here.
Councilwoman Stone.
Here.
Councilman Kaufman.
Here.
Councilman Bloomberg.
Here.
Councilman Noble.
Here.
Councilman Highland.
Here.
Mayor Rotary.
Here we have a quorum. Everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting held April 12th, 2021?
So moved. Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote to approve the minutes?
Councilman Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone.
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman.
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilman Noble.
Aye.
Councilman Highland.
Aye.
Mayor Rotary.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. The minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list?
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilman Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone.
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman.
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilman Noble.
Aye.
Councilman Highland.
Aye.
Mayor Rotary.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, and the warrant list is approved. We'll continue on to the report of the mayor. I have no appointments this evening. I have no proclamations this evening. I do have recognition this evening of two of our outgoing elected officials, Alyssa Noble and Dan Kaufman. And so it's my honor now to recognize Dan Kaufman and Alyssa Noble, two outstanding members of the City Council who are wrapping up their tenures this evening. After 10 and 8 years on the council, respectively, they've committed thousands of hours, that is no exaggeration, of their time to serving our community, and we've been privileged to be their colleagues. Dan Kaufman was appointed to the City Council in 2011 to fill my vacancy when I was elected mayor. He was then elected in 2013 and reelected in 2017. Dan served as council liaison to the Healthy Highland Park Task Force, Human Relations Commission, Ravinia Festival Community Relations Commission, Ravinia Business District Advisory Group, Zoning Board of Appeals, Library Board of Trustees, Transportation Commission, and then the Transportation Advisory Group, the Liquor Commission, Sister Cities, and Dan previously had served on the Housing Commission prior to holding office. He brought the unique perspective of an employment attorney, and his thoughtful input to city policymaking was deliberative, fair, and collegial. Dan, we are so appreciative of your legacy of leadership and care, and with great appreciation, we say thank you. Alyssa Noble was first elected to the City Council in 2013 following her chairmanship of the city's Business and Economic Development Commission, and then she was reelected in 2017. As a council member, she has served as liaison to the Business and Economic Development Commission and then Advisory Group, Cultural Arts Commission, Human Relations Commission and Human Relations Advisory Group, School District 112, the Park District, the Chamber of Commerce, the Central Business District, Economic Alliance, the Property Owners Association, Ravinia Business District Advisory Group, and the Highland Park Community Foundation. Alyssa brought the important perspective of a communications professional, regularly providing strategic direction, not only to city policymaking, but to broader economic development initiatives and communications planning and execution. Alyssa, we so appreciate your proactivity as a council member, and with great appreciation, we thank you. We have been so supportive. I'm so fortunate to have two collaborative and professional colleagues on this city council, both incredibly focused on meeting the needs of our city and understanding the nuances of our community. And we wish them all the best. You're not done yet. We'll see you again in 2 weeks, but that's a quickie. And we wanted the opportunity tonight to share our just deep appreciation to both of you. Comments from the council. Anybody want to chime in and share their thoughts? Councilman Holloman.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity. Dan, first, I wanted to say thank you for your service to our city. You've always had an important perspective as an attorney, especially in the area of human resources. You brought well-prepared and thoughtful presence to our meetings, and your focus on civil discourse and respect have helped to shape our meetings and furthered our collaboration. Your dedication to ensure affordable housing and a strong relationship with SEPA has been an important priority. And your work has helped us continue to prioritize access to secure, affordable, and high-quality housing in our community. Thank you for all that you have done for Highland Park, and I wish you the best on your retirement from the council, but I'm sure that we will continue to hear your voice and seek your input.
Thank you so much.
Alyssa, I can't thank you enough for your service to the council. From the day you were appointed to chair the Business and Economic Development Commission, you hit the ground running and have set an example for us all. You served in this position like you do everything else, with energy, enthusiasm, and expertise. You set a high bar, which we can all strive to reach, but I doubt we'll ever get to. You've been generous with your time and your responsiveness to our community, always going above and beyond, and all of your work is appreciated. Your work with the business community has shown that it's possible to create change. You've brought businesses together and have kept property owners, the businesses, and the city working together. Your ability to listen, to think out of the box, and to push us to rethink dated zoning and regulations and to find creative solutions have been important as we look to the future. You've laid an important groundwork for us to succeed in a post-pandemic world. Your caring for our most vulnerable has been no less essential. Under your watch, we saw the Human Relations Commission grow to an advisory group, which helped ensure that we set a large table included many voices. We saw the modernization and redistricting of our grant-making program, which was become a model for others. Your sensitivity to the community and its needs has always been a priority, and the work you've done will be a lasting legacy. And personally, I appreciate every opportunity to work with you and to call you both a colleague and friend. Thank you for your service and friendship. I know this is not the end of your public service career, and I can't wait to support you in your next chapter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bloomberg.
Thank you. I tried to prepare something, but it grew and grew and grew. It would take too much time for me to list all of the things that each of you have meant to me. I will say briefly, Dan, I've known you for many years. You're part of that great class of 1979. There are a number of people from that class who are important to me and to our town. As a close friend, it's been a pleasure to work with you as a colleague, to discuss matters before the city council and to get your thoughtful, reasoned, careful input on so many issues, and your great humanity has been a true guide. Alyssa, I don't think I knew you very well before I ran for office, but in the time that we've served together, I think we have agreed on very few things. And yet we have developed a very close friendship, and you have been a go-to person for me to talk everything over with. You've been objective, you've been forthright, and you've been a true friend, and I value that, and I know that will continue after you leave the city council, both in terms of speaking with you about matters involving the city of Highland Park and other matters that we've often talked about. It's just been an absolute pleasure. Sitting next to you has been a joy on the dais, and I'm going to miss that.
Thank you. Councilman Stolberg.
Thank you, Mayor. And as Councilman Bloomberg said, I tried to write something too, and I couldn't really narrow it down. So I figured I would just give a couple minutes to my colleague and someone I've become friends with, and Dan Kaufman, whether it's talking politics or having a sandwich at Manny's. I did not know you when I got on this council. And my father always taught me, when you want someone to listen, speak with a quiet voice. And Dan, although you are quiet in voice, you are certainly not quiet in lack of knowledge and compassion and caring. And I always enjoy listening to you and learning from you and your thought process and your even-keeled approach to everything. And I thank you for bringing that to this council and to this community. We will miss you. And I just want to say what a pleasure it has been getting to know you, serving with you, and calling you my friend. So thank you for everything you've done. To Councilman Noble, the reason I am probably sitting here today, I cannot begin to tell you the impact I believe you've had on both the city, the way we govern, our communication style, When my phone rings at 7 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night before a meeting, I know we have some things to discuss, and it usually lasts a while. I tried to think about what I would miss most, and I think what I'm going to miss is the neighbors talking about Councilman Noble and me, because no matter what meeting we drove home together with, whether it was in my driveway or hers, we were always in the car for about an hour in the driveway. So they'll have to stop talking about us, Alyssa, and we will miss you. I will miss you personally, but I will tell you, you will be gone but not gone, because I know that anything that comes up, just like you've bounced off me, I will still look to you for support and advice and expertise and wisdom. You are tenacious. You're like the Tasmanian devil. I don't know where you get the energy. I always joke with Gita about a sleeping bag in City Hall, because she does a fantastic, amazing job. But Alyssa, you are a true example of a dedicated, selfless public servant, and I love you for it. So thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stone.
Thanks. I too just was not able to put everything down on paper that I would like to say, so I will be brief. It's been a pleasure to work with both of you and to run with both of you, both 4 years ago and before that as well. And each of you brings a different perspective and a different expertise to the City Council, and I think that is what has made this group function so well, is to have a diversity of views and a diversity of interest and expertise. And I appreciate all that both of you have brought. And as I always tell Dan, he is the funniest person on the City Council. And I knew that when the three of us turned in our petitions together in 2013. And Alyssa had a large stack of filled out petitions. And Dan looked over with a straight face and said, "I didn't know you spelled your name with an E." To which Alyssa's mouth dropped open. And, then he smiled and we all went off from there and have worked together so well over the last 8 years. And I will miss both of you.
Thank you. Dan, Alyssa, you want to just wave? Any comments?
I'd love to say a few words if that's okay.
Sure.
First of all, thank you all for your generous words. I cannot tell you how much it means from every one of you. And the hardest part is that I can't sit here and spend as much time as I would love to throw kind of the praise and compliments right back at each one of you. So I'll touch on this a little bit more, but part of, I think, serving, what really matters partly is the dynamic among the council and those you work with, because I think to be an effective council, we've got to work well together, which we've said many times. And so that's just been a tremendous attribute of this council. Just a few other thoughts. I think one of the first lessons I learned when I served on the City Council was to try not to take myself too seriously. And I learned this early on when I had just recently been appointed. I wasn't even elected to the council yet. And we went with some friends to Taste of Highland Park and sat at a table. And some other people we didn't know sat down and they all introduced themselves. And our friend said, "Well, this is Councilman Dan Kaufman. Do you know him?" And the man said, "Of course, I voted for him." And then his wife said, "I told him to vote for you." Well, I had only been appointed at that point, but we didn't reveal it. My other very humbling experience early on was about after I'd been serving for about a year. A resident, when she realized I served on the City Council, she said, "You're on the City Council?" So that kind of kept me in line. And fortunately, I've learned some other lessons over the years since I've been serving. And I was reminded of one of them is my wife Amy and I were preparing for her favorite day of the year, which is Trash Day. And we were cleaning out the attic and we came across, believe it or not, an old Highland Park news article about the time that I, after great encouragement from teachers, appeared in front of the City Council as an 8th grader trying to advocate to connect the Highlands to downtown Highland Park with a bike path. And since that time, I've learned even more the importance of civic engagement and how vital it is. And that public participation is critical to a well-functioning progressive community like we have. And so I want to really appreciate now all the emails and phone calls and conversations and input at meetings that we've had from residents and even at the grocery store, the Green Bay Trail, wherever, that input, I think we all realize has really made a difference and makes our community better. The second thing is local issues are even more important than I ever realized. I knew they were important when I first started, but they really do affect the quality of our lives, our residents' lives, or our community on a daily basis. And one of the fascinating things is those issues, as we know, range from potholes to the pandemic, from the very specific local issues to global issues, like how to deal with the pandemic. And so I think as a council, we have addressed such a wide variety of issues in so many ways that I'm really proud of having done with this council. And just to name a few, the enactment of the assault weapons ban, our accomplishments in affordable housing, and our sustainability progress and efforts. That's, again, just to name a few. The third thing that's even more, I've realized even more, is it takes an outstanding city manager and staff to run a municipality well, like we run Highland Park. I didn't realize, frankly, how many moving parts there are to a town like we have. And we are exceptionally fortunate to have an outstanding city manager and staff to make our government work so well and run well on a daily basis and keep not just functioning, but moving forward. The fourth thing is I realized even more that public service and excellent public servants really matter. And that's, again, back to all of you for being such outstanding public servants. And I realized even more, we need excellent public servants. We need more people to become involved in our commissions, our advisory groups, and run for office if they want to run for office. But who our leaders are and the decisions that you all make and I've helped to make really do make a significant impact on our community and our residents on a daily basis. And the fifth thing, and last but not least, is that I realize it takes all these different components working together. It takes a total team effort to make our community strong and keep moving it forward. Each one component is a necessary but not sufficient condition. It depends on everyone, the civic engagement, the outstanding city staff, the excellent council, the other public servants who have served our community and will continue to serve our community so well and make this community such a great place to live, work, and visit. So I'm really exceptionally grateful for the opportunity to serve and to be just one part of that total team effort. I'm grateful to our residents for all their input and all their thoughts and suggestions. And of course, I'm eternally grateful to our outstanding leader, Mayor Rotary, and just fabulous fellow council members for all of our discussions and debate of the issues, whether we agreed or not, just being able to have healthy discussions and try to make the best decisions we can. And thanks also to our corporation counsel, Steve Elrod, Hart Passman, and the whole team have been terrific to work with. But I also realized that serving on the council, those of us who serve, we're just a moment in time. We really owe deep gratitude to those who came and have served before us. And for example, Mayors Pierce, Geraci, Belsky, and all those who served on the council, and frankly, who will continue to serve, we owe them a tremendous, tremendous debt of gratitude. And of course, I'm grateful to my family who share and endorse my passion and commitment to public service. And frankly, they've been the toughest and kind of the best sounding boards along the way. So I look forward to the work all of you are going to continue to do, the great work of this next council and our wonderful community, and to remaining part of this team effort, obviously in a different way, but still part of the team effort. And I look forward to seeing you all and our residents around town on our well-connected bike paths, our sidewalks, the Green Bay Trail, just anywhere around town. Thank you all so much. I'm eternally grateful to you all and to our residents and to our city staff and our city manager. And now I think it's time for me to mute myself for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kaufman. Councilman Noble.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to each of you. Like Councilman Kaufman said, I wish I could, wax on about my relationships and friendships and collegial work with each of you individually, but I have been doing that one-on-one with so many of you, and some of which it's really just bittersweet, and some of it makes me a little teary-eyed. I've often said to people, we're a little like a dysfunctional family. We all really work well together when we can get it together, and we do more often than we don't. So as as Councilman Kaufman did, I prepared a few remarks so I wouldn't wander, which I have been known to do. But truly, this has been an honor of a lifetime to serve on our Highland Park City Council for the last 8 years. And I believe in making room for new leaders and fresh voices. So it is with gratitude and deep appreciation that I say a bittersweet farewell, as my expiration date as a councilman has come. My service has always been about this community, each and every one of you. Each day was a reminder that many hands, hearts, and minds contribute to the success of our city. And over the years, I have appreciated, like many of you, the numerous opportunities to work with residents, businesses, and property owners, sister governments, not-for-profit organizations, local and state and federal leaders. The focus was always on our collective values and how we could create common understanding through listening and engagement and find solutions to complex challenges and how together we would achieve and could achieve our goals. I am really proud to have helped drive an agenda with each of you. With the mayor and my city council colleagues, we have been laser focused on our core city priorities of public safety, fiscal stability, infrastructure investment, and community vibrancy, while laying the very important groundwork to support ongoing future successes. And I know that this council coming forward will have them. During my time on the council, I have been integral in furthering numerous initiatives designed to enhance our quality of life. Some of the ones I'm most proud of include promoting a more flexible but thoughtful approach to business and development. Even if it felt like a little banging your head against the wall, we did it. We reduced and eliminated outdated regulations while making changes that encourage new uses in our retail districts and enhance business incentives. I champion these and other recent actions that will ultimately provide for the revitalization of our business districts as we emerge from the pandemic, and like we always do in Highland Park, better and stronger. Streamlining city operations, increasing responsiveness, and improving overall efficiencies. Today, we know residents and businesses alike can more easily find and navigate city services. Driving a successful initiative to enhance and increase our city communications. It's my professional background. I couldn't help but put my 2 cents in here. Supporting a more accountable government, notably overhauling print, digital, and website communications to be more clear, frequent, informative, and helpful to residents and businesses. Initiating the business development strategic plan, the branding initiative of the city, creating a business summit, bringing business and property owners together to share ideas, co-founding the career exploration program for our high school students with our amazing city manager, implementing art at City Hall, partnering with the Highland Park Community Foundation so that no Highland Parker should be left behind or feel excluded, and working with the Human Relations Advisory Group to protect and care for our most vulnerable residents and create a more equitable community. At the same time, I've worked with you, my colleagues, to address unique neighbor and neighborhood-specific concerns. Yes, Councilman Stolberg, we do it early in the morning and late at night. External challenges like volatile financial policies in Springfield, fighting the NRA, and last but definitely not least, protecting our collective health and safety through the pandemic. As the saying goes, Rome was not built in a day, and neither is a reimagined Highland Park. I will watch with pride as you, Mayor Rotering, the council, the new members of the council, the dedicated staff continue all of this important work. I am certain the initiatives that I've championed will bear fruit. You will carry them out with pride. Thank you to Mayor Rotering and my council colleagues, past and present. I'm grateful for our collaborative working relationships. Thank you to the city's professional leadership team, Corporation Council, and staff for your guidance, and of course, for your dedication to the community. We are so fortunate to have a team that truly cares. I often say to residents, do you realize how much they care about you? Thank you to so many residents for placing your faith in me, connecting with me, providing your valued input as we made Highland Park a better place to live, work, and play. Thank you to my family, Jeremy, Heather, Stephen, and I was asked to include her, and she's really very important, Daisy, my election dog, my extended family, and all the friends that we call family for never-ending support. Each and every one of you made it possible for me to serve our vibrant city. While my steadfast commitment to serving Highland Park as a councilman may have come to an end, I will, like the words say over the doors of City Hall, I will remain a watchful and engaged citizen and gain important perspective as I consider future public service and begin a new chapter. Again, this opportunity was truly an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both. Yeah, round of applause for our departing colleagues, although they're not leaving quite yet. We have a meeting to conduct and onward we will try. So thank you. Join me in recognizing our Graduate Student Advisory Group Board and Commission representatives through the City of Highland Park Student Commissioner Program. Outstanding Highland Park High School juniors and seniors volunteer their time on behalf of our community. And to serve, the students must complete an application explaining their interest in the program and the city's various boards and commissions, share any relevant coursework or activities, and write about their future goals. Tonight, it's our pleasure to thank and congratulate the class of 2021 student commissioners. These graduating seniors have volunteered their time and provided their unique perspective to help shape conversations and policy recommendations for the city in a particularly unusual year. These students are our future leaders, and we're so proud to support them in their journey. We're pleased to recognize the following students. From Business and Economic Development, Max Lakey, Emma Perper, and Lindsay Winters. Cultural Arts, Kayla Beck, Ryan Hecht, Celine Malenk, and Emily Schwartz. Historic Preservation, Kevin Beck. Housing, Jordana Hasman. Human Relations, Bilal Ansari, Isabella Cashman, and Lily Fleischman. Library Board of Trustees, Alexander Bush and Kyle Slavin. Plan and Design, Marissa Galvin. Sister Cities Foundation, Maddie Legador, Lucy Mellinger, and Allie Page. Sustainability, Eric Anderson and Noah Fahn. Transportation, Aaron Bach. And Zoning Board of Appeals, Eden Macnan. Each graduating senior will receive a certificate from the city in recognition of their service. We congratulate them on their upcoming graduation and wish them all the best in their future endeavors. Thank you for your service to your city. And now I am pleased to welcome and introduce Mr. Jeffrey Hayden, President and CEO of Ravinia Festival. Jeff brings over 25 years of arts management experience to Ravinia and comes to Highland Park from the Caramore Center for Music and the Arts, a unique live music venue in New York that hosts a variety of performances each year on the grounds of a former estate. Prior to that, he served in a variety of leadership capacities with music festivals and arts institutions across the country. Jeff is not new to the Chicago area, having previously worked with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Just last week, we recognized Ravinia Festival with the 2021 Arts Award, honoring their creative response to the pandemic. On behalf of my City Council colleagues, I'm delighted to officially welcome you to Highland Park and look forward to continuing to grow the city's partnership with Ravinia Festival through your tenure. Jeff, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, Nancy, thank you so much for that introduction. And it was heartwarming to hear all of the congratulations by all the city council members. It just was emblematic of the experience that I've had already, and just working with, I've had a chance to meet a couple of you, and we've had a chance to work very closely with a number of the city staff members and other officials. And I just really appreciate the collegiality and solution-oriented approach. So you're all to be very commended on that. As Nancy said, that my wife's a fourth-generation Chicagoan, and one of our very first dates was coming to Ravinia and seeing Tony Bennett sing, and then our second one was hearing the Chicago Symphony Orchestra with a lot of our friends. And so I'm humbled to be back here and thrilled to be running Ravinia. It's certainly a year like no other. All of us in the industry are finding ourselves in unusual leadership positions and leading the societies to find ways to safely reopen. So we've been working really closely with the city, with Lake County Health, with IDPH, Illinois Department of Health, and our medical advisors, Northwestern Medicine, in figuring out how we can create an environment that's healthy for everybody. And the good news is that everybody is giving us high marks for the plan. And we're responding daily to what seems like changes that keep coming down from CDC or others. But we're really looking forward to finding that right way to reopen Ravinia this summer. I think that all of us will agree that we could all use a little fresh inspiration and some ways that we can feel comfortable finally being together again. So we're going to make a big announcement on May 6th. We have a neighborhood meeting on May 13th for those who are interested. Our season starts a little later this year, July 1st, and goes through the end of September. But it will still include the full range of programming that everybody's used to, albeit at much lower capacities than we've been used to running in the past. So I look forward to meeting and working with all of you, and look forward to seeing you at Ravinia this summer.
Terrific. Thank you. Any questions for Jeff? Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in 3D.
Thanks so much, Nancy, and thank you very much, City Councilman.
Thank you. Continuing on with tonight's agenda, our next item is business from the public. This is for citizens wishing to be heard regarding items not listed on tonight's agenda. City Manager Newkirk, do we have any emails or otherwise from the public?
Thank you, Mayor. We do not have any emails. If individuals are interested in emailing us, they can contact us at cityhp@cityhpil.com. So we have not received any emails since the packet was posted. There's no one from the public here at City Hall. And if anyone has joined us virtually and would like to make a comment, if you could just raise your virtual hand and we can call on you then. And I don't see any hands raised.
Okie doke. We'll continue on, and if people contact us during the meeting, we'll be happy to call on them. Thank you. Continuing on with our scheduled business, items 1 through 12 have been grouped together for omnibus consideration. I am seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 12.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Councilman Holloman.
I was going to try and pull an item.
Okay, I'm going to guess it's item 6.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, okay, we'll pull item 6. So we need an amended motion for items 1 through 5, 7 through 12.
So I would make that amended motion to approve items 1 through 5 and 7 through 12.
Where's my seconder?
I'll second that. I think your seconder was.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on items 1 through 5, 7 through 12? Hearing Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, I just wondered if Gita could explain to us number 1, on item number 1, just why it's important to extend the emergency declaration.
Great, thank you, Councilman Holloman. So the primary purpose of the extension of the emergency declaration, as we have used it, has been to allow us to manage our staffing level throughout this pandemic. So that's really been the primary purpose. There are other stipulations set forth within there, such as emergency purchasing, but we haven't used that really since the pandemic. I had a conversation with the mayor actually last week. So the consideration this evening is to extend the emergency declaration through our next meeting on May 24th, not the May 10th meeting, because that's when the oaths of office take place. And at that time, it would be recommended that we discontinue the emergency declaration. We are planning, as the council knows, to open our doors to the public on June 1st. We have been conducting service to the public through virtual and through by appointment. But we will be opening up our municipal buildings for walk-in traffic at that time. All of our employees either have been vaccinated or are in the process of getting vaccinated. So it gives everyone, as well as the public, a chance to really get vaccinated. And so we think at the end of May, then we would be able to no longer continue that emergency declaration.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilman Stolberg,
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone,
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman,
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg,
Aye.
Councilman Noble,
Aye.
Councilman Holloman,
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes, no nays. Items 1 through 5 and 7 through 12 have been approved. Item 6 is a resolution approving a non-exclusive special license agreement between the city and the Park District of Highland Park for the installation of an access gate system to improve the Park Avenue boating facility public right-of-way. And I see that the executive director of the Park District of Highland Park has joined us this evening. City Manager, how do you wish to proceed to discuss this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick update for public information purposes. We did discuss this agenda item at the last City Council meeting. Since then, we had a small group meeting, which consisted of the mayor, Councilman Bloomberg, And I met with the Director Romes and 2 elected officials from the Park District to follow up on the discussion that the City Council had at our last meeting. We are recommending 1 addition be made to the license agreement, and so that's set forth in the staff report in the packet. And we are recommending approval at this time and happy to answer any questions that the City Council may have. Director Romes, as noted, is here, and so he can talk to specifically the Park District's plans, the rationale for the gate, as well as if individuals were looking for specific resident versus non-resident access that have been in the past at that property.
And I'd request that Director Romes share that. I found it compelling when we had our small group conversation. All of us were no votes at the last meeting when we were discussing this, and asked for the Park District to provide input explaining the need. And Councilman Bloomberg and I found the Park District's explanation compelling with facts and data that we just hadn't realized were part of the calculation. So, Mr. Romes, if you wouldn't mind, please sharing the
Sure,
reasoning
I
behind
would.
it. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for allowing me to speak on this matter that's before you this evening regarding the license agreement for the gate installation. So our goal for installing this gate is essentially to provide safe access control to the Park Avenue boating facility. And this system, we believe, allows us to do this with both integrity and with adaptability. So I use those words specifically because integrity means it is a reliable system and it is able to consistently fulfill its intended purpose, but also it's adaptable, which means it can function in a manner that is both mindful of the needs of the entire community while also consistent with the safety of the facility, which is intended to be used for boating. It's all the infrastructure there at that facility that is operated by the Park District, the barge, the yacht club. Those are all for the purpose of boating. So again, this is in mostly response to 2020, where, as everyone knows, we had some very dramatic usage at all of our lakefront properties. We do feel that although it was dramatic last year, we think it will continue. And this gate gives us the opportunity to not be on our heels as we were last year. This gives us the ability to open and close whenever we need to. We can open and close it remotely. The city has access to open and close it for emergency purposes as well. So it has tremendous amount of flexibility and it is very user-friendly and it will, we believe, benefit the community, the voters, the city, and the Park District. So I'd be happy to answer any questions and give more detail regarding it.
Councilwoman Stone and then Councilman Holloman.
Thanks. I wanted to just ask Director Romes when you expect the area to be open versus closed, because we've heard a few different things in that regard.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. The boating season for us begins Memorial Day weekend. That's when boats can actually launch. We do allow boaters to go in and out before that weekend, but not power boating. So we will operate it, make sure that it's down starting Memorial Day, and then it would go at a minimum through Labor Day. And
So
then
you're talking about having the gate closed 24/7 from Memorial Day to Labor Day?
That's our plan right now. That's consistent with what we did last year. So last year we had a gate there and we had an attendant down there who only opened it for those who had a decal for Park Avenue. So it'd be consistent with what we did last year at this point.
Because I had thought that the gate previously had been closed only on weekends and maybe Fridays or certain holidays during that time frame, but was accessible to our residents who might want to go down there at other times when it's less busy.
Yeah, so prior to 2020, it was. Now in 2020, there was no non-peak day. Every day was a peak day, every single day, 7 days a week, from 10 a.m. to from dusk till dawn. It was peak, and we were turning people away without a decal because it was overcrowded and there were safety issues. And so this year we're still in the pandemic, and so there are still capacity guidelines. There are still social distance guidelines. And so at this point, we're operating with the intention that we are in phase 4. And if we change and if usage change, we have the ability to adapt versus last year, we couldn't adapt very easily. Getting staff to come or go was obviously not easy because you can't have somebody sit there all day if they're not needed, and you can't bring someone in last minute if they are needed.
So I appreciate the flexibility that the gate provides, and I don't have a concern with putting in an automated gate versus the manual gate that we had previously. But what I am concerned about is closing off access for how many months from May to September?
3 months.
To a lot of months for the whole summer. I know are people who go down there. I have a neighbor who has some difficulty walking, who likes to be able to drive down and sit in the car and see the beach, who's not able to walk over the sand to do so in the other locations. I know that there are people who go down there who are undergoing treatment at the hospital or have family members who might want to go and sit in their car at the beach. And those sorts of folks are the people who are not going to be able to go down to that area of beach. And it is significantly different down the part that would be gated off than the other parking lot. It's quieter. You have a direct view of the lake from that area, which you don't have from the other lot. So I'm concerned about the loss of access.
And I think it's important to note that Rosewood does also provide that access to viewing the lake. Mr. Romes, I'm curious to know, what do neighboring communities with boat launches do? Do they have open gates, or do they also maintain gates in an effort to address the traffic issues?
Yeah, it varies. Obviously, from community to community. We did look at a couple other communities that do have this, and I can't, off the top of my head, remember the exact communities that do have gates, but other communities do have an automatic gate system, or they have a person there who allows someone to provide access.
Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, my issue with this gate, and I continue to be concerned, is one of access. I think you are looking at last year and making a decision about access based on one single exceptional year, which I find it impossible to imagine that this last summer is going to somehow be a roadmap for every year in the future. Do you have statistics specifically that would illustrate the number of boaters that launch typically in a weekday? Because as I recall, those numbers were exceptionally low, Monday through Friday. And we are talking about closing off an access point to the beach, which we paid for. The city of Highland Park invested well over $100,000 for, in order to keep that as a viable asset to the entire community. And I'm concerned that, for the 3 boaters who are using the week Monday through Friday, we are gating off and disallowing that access to people who may not otherwise be able to access it. I mean, there are plenty of people who go down to, relax, eat a lunch, hang out in that area, and we are cutting it off for the entire summer. And I hesitate to even grant this gate access, because the minute you do, the city, which owns that street and put a lot of money invested into it, into making it accessible for the community, no longer retains control over that property. I think this is I would like to know exactly how many people are using that boat launch between Monday through Friday, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, because the numbers in the past were so low that the Park District was considering closing the facility entirely. So now we've gone from, we hardly have any use of this area to we have to gate it off and make it for the exclusive use of boaters. I think there has to be a compromise, and that this putting in the gate is an excuse to eliminate jobs. Those used to be good summer jobs for kids. We're eliminating people in favor of a mechanical gate that is going to cut off access to the community. And I cannot support that by any stretch of the imagination.
Thank you, Councilwoman Howman. Yeah, so it certainly is based off of a lot of the decision to move forward with the recommended gate was based off of last year's usage. And while it was certainly unique, again, there has been a significant renowned interest in the outdoors. I mean, we're already seeing our outdoor programs higher than they were pre-COVID, which means we have a lot of people who are purchasing the decal for that site, and we anticipate that it will be used a great deal. There certainly is no shortage of jobs at the Park District. We won't be eliminating specifically in a job. In fact, we're hiring more security and more staff throughout the lakefront due to the safety concerns that we had last summer, and we believe that will continue to be a concern this summer. That facility is leased by the Park District, so we are responsible for the maintenance. We are responsible for the security and the safety of the activities that go on at that site. And we believe that this gate allows us the flexibility to make sure that we can have a system where it is safe, the access is safe, and it's still accessible. So again, the key for us is that it has the flexibility to adapt. So if 2022 is not as busy for some reason and we want to open it during the week, we can always do that. We always have the ability to keep the residents' needs in mind, and that's part of our mission. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so what numbers do you have for Monday through Friday during the summer, last year even?
Yeah, so last year we didn't keep track of numbers because we were at capacity every day. So we turned people away every single day. Before that, we didn't staff it, so we didn't have numbers. The other good thing about this system is it allows us to keep track of the number of visitors. So we'll know how many people go in and out of the gate.
So
Sure.
how did you say you're at capacity if you didn't keep track? How, like, that doesn't make sense to me. So we're making this decision with I've not heard one data point yet
And
saying we have this number of people and this is
Yeah.
why we need to do this. You are closing off access to the community. If you're going to make that decision, I would think you need to have a really good reason to do so. Simply because there were a lot of people last summer when every other beach in the community was closed. I don't think that's a valid reason. Give me 10 years worth of data and tell me that because of the situation that we're in, this gate is the only reasonable way to control people down there. I don't think it is. And I think this is a short-sighted approach. And I am struggling to understand why we put in this road, and we never intended to turn this into a beach, a boat launch exclusive facility. And that's what I feel like this is moving towards.
Councilwoman Stone and then Councilman Bloomberg.
thank you. You said that you were at capacity last summer all the time. Capacity in terms of cars parking, I assume is what you mean, rather than not capacity in terms of boats launching. I walk down there 3 to 4 days a week. I've never seen a boat launch. So is that what you're talking about? Is the number of cars parked?
Yeah, it was cars and people. So last year, again, I'm referring to the fact that we had capacity limits based on the CDC guidelines and based on the Restore Illinois guidelines. So we were at capacity on the north side, and on the south side, again, we were, we had someone staff there all day, every day, and it was very, very crowded.
Because my understanding of when we reconstructed the road over on the south area was that we were reconstructing it to enable cars to turn around without having to go around the water plant because we had fenced off part of the water plant for security purposes, and blocked the road next to the water plant. So there's additional parking over there that could have been used if there had been a full number of people in the north lot. But that area is going to be blocked off now if this gate goes in all the time. So people are not able to park over there, even when boats are not launching. That's my understanding here. And I can't support the lack of access to that part of the beach. If I'm misreading this, if I'm misstating it, please let me know.
The only thing that I would say is that our plan as of right now is that it's closed Memorial Day to Labor Day. Again, I think we put a statement in the agreement to acknowledge that if the community need is such that it's not being used by boaters and safety is something that we can appropriately manage. Again, we have the ability to leave the gate open. We're not making in this agreement necessarily a hard decision either way, but our intentions for this year, whether we have a gate or not, is to have a staff person or a gate down there 7 days a week. And again, if we do decide that usage is low and we can open it up at some point, now we're taking away jobs or moving people around versus just scheduling the gate in a different way.
Councilman Bloomberg, and then Councilman Holloman, and then Councilman Stolberg.
Thank you. I have comments rather than questions since I participated in our discussion with the Park District. And what has become apparent to me more or less as a reminder is that the Park District's job is to manage recreation and natural resources for recreation in Highland Park and to manage the beaches, as well as the safety associated with recreation and the management of those beaches. This beach is the only beach that the Park District doesn't own outrightly, and that's because our water plant is there. And so the beach creates a unique, complicated physical circumstance for the Park District to deal with. But that, in my opinion, is their issue to deal with as they deem appropriate. And they have expressed the policy as to how they intend to manage it very clearly in this agreement, which is what Director Rome's just referred to, which is that they're going to make their best effort to open it as much as possible, keeping in mind that this is the only beach that power boaters have access to a boat launch. In support of this, as liaison to the Park District, I've noted two very important elements that support the notion that the Park District is going to carefully consider and try to allow as much access as possible. The first is that they have expended already a great deal of money towards solving the decay and replacement of the barge, which has been a source of difficulty between the city and the Park District. And the Park District has really taken the laboring oar to address that very difficult and costly issue, which benefits not only the boaters, but our fire department and their ability to launch in rough seas. They also have hired the Lakota Group because they are interested in managing the entire beach and making the entire beach a much better experience. The north part of the beach has a lot of physical issues that make it unattractive and a difficult swimming beach where the lake bottom tends to shift abruptly at times and can be a dangerous area. They want to make as much of this beach accessible as possible. But the only place that boats can be launched in Highland Park is past the eastern face of the water plant using that ramp. And those boats have to do a turnaround in that area, which is why after a lot of issues between the city and the Park District, after the city put a fence up to protect the water plant, the pavement was extended enough for boaters to make that turn. That was a huge cooperation between the city and the park district and the boaters and the yacht club in order to be able to provide that access. There are times when there are enough boats launching that cars being parked along the easternmost row of spaces impair that ability for boats to turn around. So when Director Romes is talking about reaching capacity, it's when it's not possible for boats to come and go, for cars to deposit the boats in the lake or retrieve them from the lake due to the number of vehicles parked along that eastern edge. But when there aren't that many boats in the lake or intending to come down, the intention has been to make those few spaces available. But every area of parking along every beach that is managed by the park district has restriction for parking. Parking has always been an issue both for safety and access. And I expect the park district to do that properly and to comply with the policy that they've put in place. For that reason, although I am concerned about the access, I think that is up to the park district to handle. They were down there every day last year. It was without a doubt an unusual year. Hopefully, as a result of that many people going down to the beach last year, we will see a renewed interest in accessing our beaches and other beaches. If it's not there, if the crowds are small, if we are not at capacity, it's the intention of the park district to make this available during non-peak periods. The gate will allow them to do that. The people who used to work there often suffered a great deal of abuse, and they were required to call the city of Highland Park to relieve some of that conflict. So whether there's a person there or a gate there, yes, access is going to be restricted. Whether a few jobs are lost, there are plenty of jobs with the park district for high schoolers to man the beaches. And lastly, since I was a child growing up in Highland Park, all access to the beaches has been limited, at times more expensive, at times less expensive, from everything from having to sew metal tags to our bathing suits just to walk onto the beach, to having to have some kind of special decal to be able to park even in the limited parking area on the Ravine Drive beach. So limitations on access historically are nothing new. I understand that residents are frustrated. A lot of that comes because everybody is trying to get down to the beach at the same time. The park district has agreed to accommodate people who have disability limitations to providing reduced cost access to the periods that it's safe for them to be there. I'm encouraged by all of that. And while I don't like the reduction in access, I think that's a park district issue.
Thank you. Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, Tony, but in this case, we paid for that road to keep it open and make sure that we could access the property. So that's a big part of the problem I have with this. The intent was never that this would be strictly for boating. It was supposed to be available for our residents, and that barge was often cited as a place where people would go and fish. So I still disagree. I understand the safety concerns and all of that, but I do not believe that the number of boats launching during the weekday could possibly justify closing off this property to the general community, and would continue to insist that this stay open. If you're going to say, well, we'll adjust, adjusting is difficult because people don't know if it's open or closed. If I drive down there on a Tuesday morning and it's closed, I'm not going to drive back there another Tuesday thinking that maybe they'll open it. I think the messaging is unclear, it's uneven, and it's not warranted to close off and lock off this area from the entire community for the advantage strictly of the boating community. There is no reason that they can't launch their boats. We're not talking about restricting access for them. And the person who's down there is supposed to be managing the parking so that the boaters can continue to have room to turn their boats around and to park. But this was always meant to be a shared resource for the community, not an exclusive resource for boaters. My final word. Thank you for that.
Councilman Stolberg.
Thank you, Mayor. And I hear Councilman Holloman, and I certainly hear and tend to agree with Councilman Bloomberg. I recall when I was liaison to the park district, the barge was a very hot topic, and it is. I was there with expert testimony and engineers, and lake levels at all-time highs, and the discussion really turned very quickly from what originally started out as it's a lost cause, and the cost to repair the barge and to even have a boat launch was almost abandoned, Brian, if I recall correctly. And we had rooms full of people coming out talking about how they've treasured that boat launch for growing up as young people and coming back to Highland Park and as their escape on the waterfront. But I think as I really sit here and think about this, what really kind of sticks at me is this is the Park District's mission to manage this place. And I'm very leery about, I hate to use the word stepping on, because, we're as a city, we certainly have a responsibility to all of our residents. But if this is their task to safely operate this facility, I have a little trouble kind of telling them that as the lessor or the lessee to this property, and the way that they feel that they're going to regulate it safely, I just feel like this is a little bit more their call than ours. If I'm wrong, so be it. But I think they're willing, from what Brian has said, to see how this year works out, and if that gate can be open more frequently. I would hope that if they come across those situations, that the Park District would communicate that to the residents. So Councilman Howland's point isn't that I went down there at the beginning of the season, it was closed, and I don't go back. I would hope that if they see the opportunity to open that gate or reduce the hours of it being closed, that they would communicate it to our community. But I think this is their facility to operate, and I think we need to trust in their judgment to do so.
Thank you. Mr. Romes, what's the cost of the fob to open the gate for the season?
Yeah, so there's a variety of different options depending upon your use. So if you just want to use the site to park and to launch your own kayak or launch your own stand-up paddle or do whatever you want to do to park on that side, you can get a seasonal decal for $140 for a resident. Non-resident would be $220. And with that pass, it will include all of the lakefront properties as well. And then if you're, of course, launching a power boat or a sailboat or some other larger craft, then the prices are higher. So.
Okay, thanks. Councilman Bloomberg again, and then Councilman Kaufman.
Yeah, I do want to express my appreciation for what Councilman Hallman is saying. Having been involved in the effort to retain power boating at the beach, it is somewhat difficult understanding that that is going to reduce access to non-power boaters. So I hear that and I appreciate it. I just feel that there's a safety issue that I became aware of that made it possible, after putting the fence up and eliminating access to the western road, that it was going to reduce the available amount of general parking in the area. That was part of the plan. And it isn't, what I do disagree with is it's not exclusive. At certain periods, it is going to be limited to power boaters, but not exclusively. Pedestrians can still walk around the gate, if I'm correct. For people who can't, there is going to be a limitation, and that is concerning to me. And I appreciate that the Park District has heard those concerns and has an intention to try to minimize that as much as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Romes, is there any chance that there would be an opportunity for folks who qualify under the ADA to have access in some way, shape, or form that doesn't require a $140 decal?
Yeah, we actually did that last year. as well, even when we did have it staffed every day. So if there was somebody who had a special need or a handicap sticker, they had proof of that, we can give them access to for the purpose of not for voting. So if they're voting, they should get a voting decal. But yeah, we're flexible. We work with different needs of our community members all the time. So in fact, we've already given one of those away.
How would that work? Would somebody with a placard be able to get a free fob, or how would that work for somebody who?
They would still have to
needed
pay the
access?
$30 fee because that's for all of our parking lots right now. And that's just to control the parking lots from being overcrowded and to be able to safely monitor the access and the safety along the lakefront. So they would just pay the $30, and if they requested access because of a ADA need, we could give them access for that same $30 to the Park Avenue.
Thank you. Councilman Kaufman and then Councilman Holloman.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Holloman and Stone, I think, raised great points about the access, limited access, and I'm concerned about that. I am, though, do hear and think that Councilman Bloomberg and Stolberg raised good points about, I think ultimately this is a park district decision. I get that it's a shared resource, but I think it's a park district decision. A couple of things. One is I think somewhat the concerns mitigated somewhat by being able to provide some accommodation or modification for those who are disabled. I think that would be a big help. I guess I'm also curious, Director Romes, how much pushback the Park District has received about the concern that's been raised about limiting access to one of our great resources, and if there's anything else that you've been able to convey to those residents who have expressed concern, aside from what you've already mentioned, that you think might be helpful to mitigate or allay our concerns about the limiting the access this way.
Yeah, thank you. I have not received any personal phone calls or feedback from anybody specifically who was upset about the gate. I think the practice is the same as it has been, other than, of course, we last year, and our intentions for this year are Monday through Thursday also to have someone down there or to have the gate. I have certainly heard from secondhand the concern that is being raised tonight about limiting access, but again, it's always has been accessible for pedestrian access or by bike, and then the north parking lot is also accessible, so someone can either park on the north parking pad and they can walk over still, and there are also obviously other ways to get to that site other than to drive through the gate.
Thank you. Councilman Holloman and then Councilman Noble. Councilman Noble.
Sorry. I'm listening to all of this and I appreciate all the different views. I also appreciate Councilman Stolberg saying, this is, I always like to say, swim in your lane. The gate, installing it, that's us. It's on our property. We're granting you permission to do it. What you do with it is technically your park district, your business, your lane. But I'm listening to this very closely, and I know that we're always working on trying to collaborate with our sister governments better. I appreciate what you're doing with the barge. I appreciate what Councilman Stolberg and Councilman Bloomberg, even back when I was the liaison to the park district, that's dating me now 10 years, 8 years, sorry, is the barge was part of the conversation. To your point, Director Romes, you haven't been hearing from people. It's because it hasn't happened yet. We all know this community. Nobody says anything till it happens. They go, nobody told me, even though you've sent out 150 emails and posted it on your website and put it on social media. But until it gets to North Shore Mom Spot, really nobody knows. So truth be told, I'm looking at this going, if I was still around, which I won't be, but I think you're in good hands with Councilman Bloomberg as a liaison, perhaps, or whoever the mayor makes the next liaison, or Mayor Rotering, maybe you could do this. Would it be fair to ask for a check-in meeting? If this vote goes through and you put the gate in and the gate is under, your purview park district, do you check in, in a few weeks and, whatever, 4 weeks or 3 weeks after, or 2 weeks, because this, we only have such a short season. It's construction season, and boating season is like a minute long. You check in and we say, we will review this as part of our agreement in a few weeks and say, how's it going? Have you heard complaints? And I do want to thank you. I appreciate that you're willing to make accommodations for those with ADA or handicap stickers. I understand pedestrians can walk right through, but it would be really hard if you were in a wheelchair or on crutches or whatever it is. Giving them that opportunity to just have at it is greatly appreciated. It's an affinity group, if you will, in Highland Park, and it's important to recognize that. But I just would like to go back to my suggestion is, do we say 2 weeks prior to this system going in, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? I don't care what it is. Just let's come together and see how it's going. And if it's not, if you are getting those complaints, they're all over social media, you are getting them right to your office, you make an adjustment. Is that something that's feasible?
Mr. Romes, that's a question
You'd
for
like me
you.
to answer? Yeah, well, first of all, yeah, thank you for the suggestion. Again, obviously, the Park District, part of our mission is appreciation of the natural world. So we are very mindful of that. And obviously, we have a variety of different opportunities and beaches for people to enjoy that experience. We, obviously speak with the city. I talk to Gita almost every other day, check in regarding things. So I would expect that we will check in regarding the gate regularly throughout the summer, both informally, and we certainly can formally check in and see how things are going. And the good thing is we will have some usage statistics because it will be able to track how many people are using it. Again, for the integrity of our responsibility in being able to have the ability to manage the site appropriately, obviously we want to keep the agreement the way it is so that we have the ability to make those safety decisions based on the fact that we are down there every single day, and we do know exactly what's going on, and obviously continue to work collaboratively with the city to make sure that we're working together to make sure we're meeting the needs.
And Councilman Noble, I'll plan to do regular progress reports and check-ins with the city council, so they are aware, as Brian indicated, we do talk regularly, but I can plan formal reports to the city council on this topic.
Sounds good. Okay, Councilman Bloomberg, then Councilman Stone, then Councilman Holloman, and then let's call the question.
I was just going to say, I think the idea of following up is something that we do consistently in similar circumstances. So I think that's a great idea, and I would favor that.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stone.
Similarly, I think that a check-in is a great idea to just see whether the data are bearing out keeping it closed the whole season or whether it can be open. I understand that, as Councilman Noble says, swimming in your lane, and that this is the Park District's purview. But I have been concerned that as more and more people have come to use our natural areas, that our reaction has been to close those areas rather than to try and figure out how to better manage people and allow them to be outside where it is one of the safe places during this pandemic.
Thank you. Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that, and more than a informal check-in, I'd like to see actual statistics on usage, because if 5 boaters are using it in the entire week, to me, 2 weeks after Memorial Day, that's time for reconsideration so that you can re-message and help everyone understand what resources are available to them, because I still disagree with this completely. I think this is going to be turning a natural resource into an exclusive use of a single community. And if that is going to be the case, then let's justify it to the larger community, and the Park District should have no problem coming forward with those statistics on a monthly basis so that we understand.
And it sounds like Mr. Romes is willing to bring the data to us, and we'll have it readily available. But I agree with the conversation in terms of, mid-June. Let's take a look and see where we are, if that's feasible, and if not, why isn't it? At this point, I'd like to call the question. So I'm seeking a motion to approve a resolution approving a non-exclusive special license agreement between the city and the Park District of Highland Park for the installation of an access gate system to improve the Park Avenue boating facility public right-of-way. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the vote?
And Stolberg,
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone,
No.
Councilman Kaufman,
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg,
Aye.
Councilman Noble,
Aye.
Councilman Hallman,
No.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, that's 5 ayes, 2 nays, and we will be in touch with the Park District in terms of setting up that meeting for the middle of June, and look forward to a safe boating season down at Park Avenue. Thank you. Thanks for joining us
Mayor.
tonight.
Thank you, Council.
Director
Thank you
Rome.
all for your thoughtful discussion.
Thank you very much. Continuing on with our agenda, we have no items under other business. Is there any business from the council? Seeing none, we'll continue on to business from city staff. The city manager has a report of several items.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of updates. First, on behalf of the city, we just want to thank the community for participating in the Reuse-O-Rama event that was held on Saturday, April 17th. We collected more than 11,000 pounds of materials on this day. Most items collected were clothing and shoes, although we also received household donations, toys, and other items. So special thanks to the entire community because collectively we were able to divert more than 5.5 tons of material from landfill. So it's outstanding work. We invite the public to join us at 2 other neighborhood meetings that are scheduled next month. These neighborhood meetings are an opportunity for the public to meet with the chief elected official and the chief administrative official from all of the governments serving Highland Park. So city, park district, library, school districts, township, county. So the next neighborhood meeting is going to be held Monday, May 3rd at 5:30. And then our third of 3 is going to be Wednesday, May 19th at 5:30. So these are virtual meetings and the Zoom links are available on our website. Couple of updates as we continue to manage the community in this pandemic. As previously reported, we have been working very closely with the state of Illinois, and we made available both the Highland Park Metro Station as well as the Country Club. So weekly COVID testing could be conducted by the state. Given the volume and demand at this time, the Illinois Department of Public Health has switched their strategy and they're targeting specific organizations at this time rather than having these general testing events. So we have put them in touch with both school districts as well as Ravinia Festival so they can coordinate with these large employers to do targeted testing for their employees, faculty, staff, as well as other people involved in those large employers. The state is partnering with the University of Illinois Shields testing program. So they're offering the PCR testing. So the individuals are getting their test results within 24 hours. So if there's anyone who is interested in getting further information for their employees or a collective group of employees, we can certainly put them in touch with the state to coordinate this testing initiative. We continue to work with the property manager for our housing properties, and we are coordinating with Lake County. They are coming into our community, Lake County, to continue to provide information about the vaccine opportunity to particularly low-income individuals, to seniors, and to other vulnerable populations that may not have been vaccinated. So we're providing information about the vaccine. And actually this week, Lake County is coming on site to our housing properties to actually administer the vaccine to individuals who are interested. So we are working with them and we're providing translation services and really working diligently just to make sure that everyone who is interested in this vaccine is able to get registered and to receive it. We have reported and will continue to share with the public that individuals who have lost their loved ones due to COVID, they can seek financial assistance up to $9,000 per burial to help offset their costs. This is a program that the federal government through FEMA is coordinating. And sadly, people have had to bury a number of individuals. So the state is offering up to $35,000 if individuals have lost more than one loved one in their family. They can receive some financial assistance to offset their costs. Information about this program is available on our website. So there's an application that they would need to complete, and we can certainly help guide them in coordinating with our federal government partners. For businesses, there continues to be a number of programs and new initiatives. They're coming out to help businesses offset their costs as they continue to manage their operation in this pandemic. So again, we encourage our businesses to check our website. There's dedicated information for businesses, and then we're doing targeted communication to businesses as well, so they have this information. And then finally, as we've been reporting, our businesses have been operating throughout this pandemic and working diligently on making improvements to their technology, service offerings, and physical locations, so customers can shop and dine with confidence. At the suggestion, actually, of Councilman Noble, we were inspired by a recommendation that she had shared with us. And in working with our businesses, we put together a video that we launched last week, and it's our Welcome Back promise. So it's working with businesses, and businesses are making a promise to the community and sharing all the different improvements that they're doing. So again, people can feel confident shopping and dining and taking advantage of their business offerings. So please take a look at that video. It was so incredibly well done, and special thanks to our staff team for working hard and coordinating with the businesses to put that together. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions for the city manager? Great job. Thank you so much. Thank you. I am seeking a motion to adjourn the city council meeting. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote to adjourn the city council meeting?
Councilman Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone.
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman.
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilman Noble.
Aye.
Councilman Holloman.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. We are adjourned. Before we call to order the committee of the whole, I've been asked that we take a 5-minute break. So we will all be back at 6:56 to kick off the committee of the whole. Thank you very much. City Council of the City of Highland Park, Illinois, April 26, 2021. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Stolberg,
Here.
Councilwoman Stone, Councilman Kaufman,
Here.
Councilman Bloomberg,
Here.
Councilman Noble,
Here.
Councilman Holloman, Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a
I'm
quorum.
here. I couldn't get unmuted in time.
That's okay. All right, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 12th, 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote to approve those minutes?
Councilman Stolberg,
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone,
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman,
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg,
Aye.
Councilman Noble,
Aye.
Councilman Holloman, Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 6 ayes, no nays. Those minutes are approved. City Manager Newkirk, I'm wondering if we should change our agenda and start with number 2, which strikes me as a somewhat shorter conversation. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's do that. We're going to first look at the renewal of the Highland Park Intergovernmental Planning Agreement of 1996. Staff recommends renewal of this agreement for another 25 years or when the development of the remaining land covered by this agreement is complete.
Thank you, Mayor.
Does Director Fontaine want to provide that, or are you?
Well, we do have a short PowerPoint if you're interested, but basically you summarize the staff recommendation. We have communicated with Scott Korn as city manager in Highwood. We are recommending that renew our 2H agreement, which is the Highland Park Highwood agreement. One, it reinforces the Joint Plan Commission, which we believe has been very effective as we do joint planning on the property that borders our two communities. And then we are also recommending a joint envisioning process that as we take a look at the undeveloped land in Fort Sheridan, just so we coordinate and collaborate together in that endeavor. So we have a PowerPoint that we can run through if you're interested, but that's the summary of our recommendation.
Okay. Do we need a summary? Do people feel like they have a pretty good understanding based on the packet? Councilman Kaufman?
Yeah, I do. I just have one question, but
Sure, go ahead.
thanks. I noticed there was a comment in the packet that said that research has shown that Highland Park's paid fees to Highwood, but there's no indication Highwood's paid fees to Highland Park under this agreement. I didn't know if that was just something, a comment, because the research hasn't produced that yet, or if that was, kind of tacitly approved that Highwood wasn't paying fees, or just I wasn't sure where that stood for the now and for the future.
As part of our work, Madam Chair, we'll be looking into that matter as well. We don't have an answer just yet definitively on that.
Okay, and I know at one point, Open Lands was looking at least the bluff land of the Highland Park piece that still remains, and was trying to pursue the opportunity to obtain that, at least from the military or from whomever. Do we have any status on that effort?
No, but we'll be reaching out to the stakeholders, including Open Lands, when we're doing the community outreach, because that's certainly a key partner and important player in this area as well.
And please know that at one point, it must have been 7 or so years ago, we as a city had a conversation with the Department of Defense about that opportunity. So be sure to find those files. I'm happy to help you if that's anything that could use further discussion. I actually was in touch with our congressman's office today, and we could continue to pursue that route as well. So just wanted
I recall that interest, Madam Mayor. I don't recall the details, but we definitely will, research that and inquire with you further as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mayor,
Councilman Noble.
that conversation about the Department of Defense actually happened in exactly 2013, if you need to pinpoint it.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other comments on this one? Okay. Sounds like we have a few questions to be answered still surrounding the agreement. Thank you. The other item that we were going to talk about tonight is a recommendation to pursue low-income tax credit financing partnership for Piers and Ravinia housing. I have to say, I was completely surprised to see how far along this process had gone before this council had been consulted. And I recognize that a lot of work has gone into this presentation and this conversation. But I'm kind of at a loss, to be honest, and very sort of surprised, I guess is the word, that this has gone so far. I have significant concerns about the parties who were involved and the possibility of at least an appearance of impropriety. And so I'm not quite sure I am really understanding why we're at this point. I would love the input of Councilman Holloman as liaison to the Housing Commission if she has any input, but frankly was pretty surprised. So Councilman Holloman, I don't know if you're available to comment, and if you're not, I guess I'm just not even sure how we proceed at this point.
So I think the Housing Commission has been considering a variety of options for refinancing their properties. And what the conclusion that they came to was that this option, the tax credit option, was the most advantageous at this moment. And so I think tonight, all we're looking for, and I think the presentation may be a little misleading in that it goes into much more detail and much more, it's not quite the broad overview that I think would have been more helpful. But what I think we want to look at this point is it okay for staff to go a step further and give us the information that we need to make a decision on whether or not this type of arrangement makes sense for the Housing Commission? And I think that, in my opinion, should be the only question on the table. The rest of it, all of the detail, how that would happen, what that would happen. I think that we were given a lot of information in the attempt to help us make an educated decision, but really, I think the decision at this point is, should staff go forward and bring us kind of an overview of what a deal like this would look like? So I'm comfortable giving staff that direction tonight, having seen the presentations on the other options, and maybe it would be helpful to have a joint meeting with the Housing Commission where we could all come together and talk about this. But really, I think staff is looking for direction and the ability to move forward with getting the information we need to make a decision on a process like this.
And let me be really clear. I appreciate always the opportunity to look for refinancing and ways to both diminish our financial exposure, ways to identify new resources, in particular, that can go back into our properties and make them more comfortable for the people we're housing. Absolutely. What did surprise me was how many steps out we went to include a second arm of Evergreen to participate in this conversation when we hadn't even talked about it at 40,000 feet. That to me seemed so far over our skis. We're like in the next county. So that's where my concern comes from. Councilwoman Stone, you had your hand up.
Thank you. I share some of your concerns, and given that this additional arm of Evergreen seems that they would profit from this arrangement, I'm concerned about their involvement in the decision-making at this point. I also am wondering, I understand that some of these properties may need to be upgraded, but it seems that we've put the cart before the horse. We're looking at how we're going to raise the funds before we've discussed what the funds are needed for. So I'd first like to know what we need funds for. I'd like a detailed analysis of that and a capital plan and a long-term plan like we have for all of our other properties. And then we can figure out how best to raise those funds.
Thank you. Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, so the capital plan is a part of this discussion. And so the Housing Commission has a general capital plan, and they know in general what the needs are going to be down the line. The difference with this a little bit is that this type of arrangement would allow us to go beyond the capital plan to do more than just needs. It would allow us to replace kitchens, to upgrades, to do kind of once in a generation upgrades. We're not going to have those numbers because we wouldn't have planned for that kind of, right now we just replace as needed. If the stove breaks, the stove breaks. Some of these places have original kitchens, original, fixtures, all of those things. The bathrooms are falling apart. But we know what the long-term capital needs are, but we hadn't factored in like the the opportunity to do a more comprehensive program. I agree, like Evergreen should not have been part of this conversation to begin with. That was, I think, a shorthand approach because they have a lot of knowledge and have a lot of information. It probably would have been better to have a more like objective presentation to it, but I think overall the opportunity that we have here where we're basically getting money that we, money, like you never want to say money for free, but there are a lot of advantages to this type of program. So I look forward to at least giving staff direction to say, come back and share with us more information. And to more fully discussing this with the Housing Commission and making sure that everyone is aligned. And just a reminder that the Housing Commission does have a greater degree of autonomy than most other commissions, right? So they are, they can issue bonds. I realize they're not doing that without us, but they do run the day-to-day operations of these various different buildings. They have capital plans. They have all sorts of, planning and structure in place that other commissions do not. So it is a little different. They wouldn't naturally come to us at the very beginning of the process. They are coming to us. We haven't made any decisions. They've said, look, we would like to pursue this. Is this something the council would condone? And staff is saying, hey, council, they would want to do this. Can we go back and give you more information? So I think we are not nearly as far down the line as maybe the impression has gone. This is a starting point for the Housing Commission. It's certainly not an ending point.
Thank you. Director Fontaine.
Yes, Madam Mayor, just to echo and to add on what was just said, yeah, we're very much at the preliminary stage here. This was an exploration of what are some options. And so we've got some refinance options. We had a low income tax option. There's no commitments at all. This was very preliminarily just to understand at the highest level what our broad field of options are. And so one of the key things that we did with the commission was, and this was just this winter, is like to say, okay, would we like to just do what is required within the next 10 years, a smaller capital program to fix things before they come to the end of their useful life? Or do you want to pursue an opportunity to do more than that, but to reposition the buildings through a rehabilitation that would qualify for a low-income housing tax credit? So it's a different path. One certainly could just take a refinance option and do a much smaller capital program, or take the larger, more proactive approach and go for a potentially a low-income tax credit project. So that was really the high level recommendation, was to look at the larger program, to be proactive with these buildings and to look at that. There's no particular program just yet or deal worked out in any way, shape, or form. It's very much that here's the numbers that we have for our buildings. I will remind the council that Evergreen Services, as part of their property management, their financial group is involved in the finances of the building. So in working with them on that to look at our capital plan, which was this 10-year modest capital plan that was basically to replace things before they broke, we went from there to say, well, maybe we should look at a broader plan that can garner additional resources in a financially beneficial way. So that's why we've come to the council. We just talked about it with the Housing Commission earlier this month, and we're here the next available meeting to seek your guidance and direction.
So given, it's Mr. Beard, I believe, who is representing the financial arm or the development arm, they stand to recoup fees if they move forward with this project. Why would we not have put out a request for proposal before having this conversation with him? I don't understand how we're being objective and protective of our resources by having a conversation with somebody who stands to gain fees without a request for proposal.
I'll jump in, Mayor. So Evergreen, because we have a contractual relationship with them, we sought them to just give us some guidance with no guarantee that they would do the jobs, but just for us to have some preliminary understanding of this option available. from this point, yes, certainly we could do an RFQ or an RFP for that service. So it's no different than, for example, if we're looking at doing something with our CDs right now, and we check with our bank, who we bank with, and just to say, hey, what kind of rates are going on now? Should we take a look at our CDs and do something different with them? And then we could look at changing other banks if other banks would give us a better rate on our CDs. So we just sought our current contractual relationship with them and got some additional feedback from them so we could put together this very preliminary report for the council at this time.
Councilman Holloman. There you go.
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, just a couple comments on that. We are way far away from even being close to issuing an RFP. So we're not even down that road yet. I think the intent was to use this as an informational resource. And maybe, so I think that's where, I mean, we haven't even approached the point where we could say, well, we should have gone to RFP or gone to RFQ. We're not even there. We're still in the what do we want to do phase. And I think it's important to remember what's prompting this is that the Housing Commission has some loans on properties that need to be wound down for a variety of reasons. A refinancing option on those properties in whatever form, getting rid of the current debt, the way it's structured, it is costing them too much money. And there are, IDA is involved in things that make it difficult to make investments in the property. So we need to do something. The question that was posed to the Housing Commission was, here's 3 ways we could do something. What looks best to you? And so I think that's where they said, okay, this looks best to us. Let's talk to the council about it. So that's how this conversation has evolved. I think it is much more preliminary than it may come across, but it is truly, this is the first time, the first approach. I mean, it is truly the beginning of a discussion. And again, if we need to meet with the Housing Commission to get their feedback, fine, whatever. But I think this is the decision that they made was, hey, we need to do something. Rates are good. There's some urgency here in terms of opportunity. Let's move forward with something. This looks the best to us. So I think this is the right path. Maybe the background or the information could have been presented in a different way.
So I know as Finance Director Logan will be happy to share, we are always looking for opportunities to address our debt and to diminish the cost to the taxpayers. There's no question that we seek those efficiencies and appreciate it when she's doing that. I just feel that so much of this packet was pre-baked. It just felt way, way, way spooled out beyond, do you want to look at this question? So, I guess the question is, do we want to look at this question? I sure do, but I want it to be in a way that's objective and clearly spelled out in terms of the pros and the cons, the costs and the gains. When HUD says they're going to take back 75% of whatever we're able to find, is it worth the administrative costs and every other cost to even pursue that option? I don't know. But I think we need the data presented to us in a very clear and objective way. And what we got to me was just way, way, way beyond helpful information for decision making. Who had their hand up? Councilman Holloman.
I want to talk about the HUD thing because I don't think that applies to this. So the HUD is currently taking a large portion of our money. The idea is to refinance and get us out from underneath that HUD debt. So that is one of the reasons that we're doing this, to get out from that HUD obligation.
Councilman Kaufman.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I do think it's always good to look for different creative ways to refinance and good, rates and that sort of thing. I do share the concern though that you have, Mayor Roderick, which is, this is at least to me, a very complex area, this low income housing tax credit area. And there's a lot of different variables and a lot of different pros and cons. And at a very high level, I start with what Councilwoman Stone mentioned, which is, to me, I think we had to take a step back and look at, well, it'd be wonderful to get new kitchens and that sort of thing and do a total rehab and get the money to do that. And I get why that's attractive. but is it proportionate to the needs? In other words, you know, things come with a cost, and there's opportunity costs, and there's staff time, and there's, I think this, as I understand you, the Housing Commission relinquishes some control or ownership, I should say. And so there's pros and cons I think we really need to know about. In other words, would the cons, potential cons, and I don't know them all, would that be, is it worth it? In other words, proportionate to the actual needs that we have. We definitely have a 10-year capital plan for that peers and Ravinia housing. But, you know, and be wonderful to have new kitchens and update everything. But is it a proportionate need compared to the potential downsides of this arrangement and to other things that the city might do, whether it's in housing or staff time, whatever it is? I understand that the fees and other transaction costs get folded into this. I do understand Evergreen's has a lot of expertise and experience in this. I do share the concern though that you have, Mayor Roden, which is we can't just rely, and I know no one's doing this, but on Evergreen too much, because frankly, they do have a self-interest in this. And if we do go forward with this, we're gonna have to negotiate really well against and with Evergreen so that we can kind of get the best deal we could get. So I just think if we go forward, I would really want go forward and explore this for the comfort that we really are exploring this, and we're really going to come back with here are the pros and cons, here's the opportunities, here's the costs, and just get a better understanding of that to really evaluate it clearly and as fully as we can, so that it doesn't have so much momentum that it's hard to pull it back.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilman Stone.
Just to add to what you and Councilman Kaufman have said, I think risk is an issue as well. And I'd like to make sure that that is a big part of the analysis. What's the risk to Highland Park? Is there a risk of losing these properties? The arrangement just seems very complicated in terms of giving up ownership for some period of time of these buildings. So I'd like to understand the risk before we go anywhere further.
Absolutely. Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, I think giving up ownership is a little bit of a misnomer too. Maybe staff could explain that one a little more fully.
Joel?
I mean, Mayor, and we've made mention of this, you know, it does require a change in ownership. And while we do not have a complete legal analysis or anything on that just yet, because we're at the very preliminary stages, you know, we need direction to pursue spending the time and effort to actually get those answers for you. These types of deals can garner additional funds at low cost to enable a lot more to happen at the buildings in terms of their upgrade and maintenance. And so that was the top level idea that the commission tried to convey through, yes, we'd like to look at a low income tax credit project. The council has said a couple of things and we hear you loud and clear. One, you'd like to engage in a procurement process whereby we do an RFQ or RFP to solicit some proposals with regard to this project. Understood. And it's part of why we come back to the council right after the Housing Commission meeting. And two, the risks associated with various avenues. Those are important. And yes, it would be a change of organizational structure to take on a low income tax credit project. And that does need to be evaluated in more detail. But at the top level, we wanted to make sure we understood whether there was a desire or appetite to even pursue analysis of such things, because they are complicated. If the analysis at the end of the day, it was just, we just want to do a refinance, get our debt as low as we can, do some extra projects or whatever's on the capital plan we have and go. That's one approach. The approach the Housing Commission had recommended, though, is let's look more expansively than that at some project like a low income tax credit project that could garner more resources. So that's really where we're at. And we're trying to get feedback from the council as to should we pursue a detailed work along those lines, understanding that, you know, there's no deal or no guarantee we would choose that until the council decides that they want to choose that. And part of getting there would be to solicit proposals in good faith to say, hey, we're interested in these. We're not definitely going to go one way or another, but we'd like folks to take the time to put forth proposals and analyze those proposals in detail.
Councilman Alleman.
Yes, so I think one of the things to keep in mind is that, yeah, I agree 100%. This project would be complex, and it would be complicated. However, there are huge advantages to doing something like this and going through this process, and that's why it was appealing to the commission. You know, if we don't keep our properties up to a reasonable level of and make investments, then they lose their desirability even as low income properties. We don't want these to become, you know, undesirable properties in our community. So while I agree these are complex, there's a lot going on, we need to fully understand them, we need a lot more information. That's what we're asking for, is just have staff devote that time and resources so that we can get the full picture and really understand, is this worth the complexity? Because if we can get several $1 million at no cost to us, then it would be worth that effort and those investments in our properties. Those are important investments for us to make. So I would just urge the council to grant their favor for just investigating and giving staff permission to go through this process so that we can make a fully informed decision down the line.
Thank you. So I think it's a bit of a red herring to assume that we don't want our homes, our buildings, our affordable housing to be desirable. Of course, we all share that as a goal and as a mission. What I'm hearing, and again, there's no such thing as free money. There's cost of resources, there's cost of staff time, there's costs of fees, there's cost to the advisors, there's cost to a legal analysis. What I'm hearing is there are 3 options, and I would love to get the cost benefit analysis of those 3 options with a very clear sense. You know, high beta, high reward, high risk, high reward. Can we bear that risk? That's the question that needs to be answered. My understanding, and stop me, council, if I'm speaking for you, but you know, I think we do want to be able to seek out an opportunity to find those efficiencies in the financing. I think we do want to seek out that opportunity to get those resources to improve our properties. And I think we want to do it in a way that's fair, reasonable, and responsible with dollars that aren't ours. They're the public's. We need to be able to explain to people, how did we get here? Right now, I can't explain how we got to where we are right now. I do want a better understanding of the opportunities. This is a once in a generation opportunity to really do something for these buildings that are ours. And it's a good opportunity as far as the market is concerned right now. So that's where I stand. I'm looking for some sort of consensus from this group because we're spending a lot of time talking about a lot of maybes, what ifs, and scenarios that frankly, I think are a little beyond where we should be at the moment. Councilman Kaufman.
Thank you, Mary. I'm wondering, I mean, I attended one Housing Commission meeting where Director Fontaine presented the different options to the Housing Commission, 3 options. I'm wondering whether that would be helpful if they were presented to this committee of the whole, like what the analysis you did of the different options, and maybe a little bit more of a deeper dive on the pros and cons of each one before everyone kind of goes off in a direction for the direction here. Because I thought that presentation was helpful, but I think now it'd be nice to have a little bit more kind of pros and cons with each option.
Great idea. That's not available now, so maybe that's something to put on the bulletin board for the future, or is it something that you have and are able to share with us at this moment?
We weren't prepared to make a presentation like that this
Okay.
evening, but there's information in your package along those lines, Madam Chair, but we can come back and make a presentation along those lines with additional information about pros and cons like
I'd like a summary presentation that explains the 3 options with the cost benefit analysis for the council. Councilwoman Stone?
I agree. That would be very helpful.
Okay. Anybody else? Councilman Bloomberg shaking his head yes. Okay. Councilman Stolberg, yes.
I'm fine with that. I think the information would be helpful.
Okay. Councilman Holloman.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, I think it would be helpful to have the Housing Commission share their thoughts on that as well. If we're going to, like, they are a commission that has a lot of autonomy. They came up with a recommendation, perhaps inviting them to share their thoughts and why they made that recommendation would be helpful as well.
We would welcome it, knowing that there are a group of people who are passionate about this mission. Absolutely. So I think that's a pretty clear direction for this conversation, and I really appreciate everybody's input tonight. Thank you. I think that is it. We don't have closed session for the committee of the whole. So anything else? Nope. Seeking a motion to adjourn committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call that vote?
Councilman Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilwoman Stone.
Aye.
Councilman Kaufman.
Aye.
Councilman Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilman Noble.
Aye.
Councilman Hallman.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes, no nays. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody, as always, for your thoughtful input. Have a great night.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone. Take care. Stay
Bye.
well. Bye.